Not long now.
Hmm. And you been good,
I've been
Vanessa?
good, yeah.
Mm.
I actually can't get up to any mischief. Hey, Sun, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am
Thanks for having
I'm
me.
actually thrilled to
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be speaking to you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm thrilled to talk about the Korean food today too.
So let's chat.
Mhm.
And I, first of all, I want everyone to see and know Sun, the Sun that just makes me laugh a lot and who knows food like no other. You are incredible with your flavors. You're incredible with your food and the way that you make things work. But let's start at the beginning and just tell us, who is Son? Where do you come from
Mhm.
and what's going on? Where are you working?
All right. I'm yeah, as you said, my name is Son. I'm a chef, of course, working at Chukka restaurant at the Star Casino at the moment, and like chef who love food and like enjoy food and oh, what's that decline? Sorry, someone's calling, dialing in. All right, yeah, who love food and enjoy serving people with beautiful food, and yes, this is who I am.
And you come from Korea,
That's right,
South Korea?
South Korea. I never see people from North.
You don't know anyone from the north?
I don't know anyone from North. I love them, but I didn't have any opportunity to meet them yet.
I don't know that I actually don't know that I know anyone from North Korea, and I think I was saying to you that when it comes to knowing my races
Mhm.
and where people are from, I just love you all equally. I have no way of telling where people are from. People are like, oh, this person comes from Korea and that person comes from China. I would have no clue. I could not tell.
Yeah, but it's all right. Whenever I would go back to Korea, people wouldn't recognize me as Korean too. Like even though I speak Korean, they look at me as a foreigner because, you know, ever since I live in Australia for so long, and they look at me, oh, this person must be speaking Korean, but he must be born in overseas or living like overseas for so long. So it's all right.
So
Yeah.
how does it make you feel to be stuck in the Never Never Land at the moment? You kind of
Oh
you've
yeah.
become very westernized.
Yeah. I mean, like I came to Australia back in 2006, and ever since I become falling in love with this country. Like I can meet everyone from everywhere in the world. Like food here is amazing, and like I travel quite a lot. I've been like so many countries around the world, and like you know Americas and Asian countries, and whenever I come back to Australia, like I see the food in Australia is so good. I think it's because of people here, they appreciate what like people's doing and food, and they love their own produce, and they're always supportive. You know, that's what I love as well, and I learn from people, you know, who live in Australia as well, and yeah, that's one of the reasons I become a chef as well. And then the another reason I when you ask me, oh, son, can you talk about Korean food? Yeah, why not? I really want to introduce my like my background and my food. I've been doing like different cuisines, like even European cuisines, and now I'm doing Asian cuisines. But Korean food is something in my blood. You know,
Well, literally, right?
yeah.
So Brad Bennett just said Sun Sewoo is a true master.
Oh, thank you very much.
Now,
That's a good compliment.
oh, isn't he beautiful?
Yes.
He is a true master as well, I have to say. But yes, we are absolutely talking about you at the moment. And
Mhm.
tell me, how's your family? How's your wife?
She's all right. She's having time off now because she's working at clinic, the beauty clinic, and the beauty industry all shut down at the moment. But somehow I like it because
I'm sure
she's
that you do. I
yeah.
am sure that you do.
I mean, like we've been trying to we're planning to have a baby, and now finally we have a time together. Like I was busy, she was busy. We always just been talking about, oh, let's have a baby, but when can we start it? We don't know. But now, all of a sudden, both of us we stay home, and then we don't need to do anything, but we have a plan. Yeah,
Oh God, I'm blushing. I'm like, where do I go with that?
I mean, at the moment, the Olympics happening. Rather than watching Olympic games, what else we can do? Like we have plenty of time.
There's only so much Netflix you can watch in a day, right?
Yeah, right. All right.
And oh gosh, where do I even take the conversation after that? So you're now running Chukka,
That's right. Yes,
and what is Chukka?
Chukka. Chukka is on the Star Casino Entertainment, Sydney, but the location is not inside the Star. It's actually outside of Star Casino. It's located on Johns Bay Wharf, so it's right next to water. The place used to be Flying Fish.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
actually learned that the hard way, right? Remember I
that's
came there for
right. Yeah.
dinner?
Whoever come to Chukka better ring me, so I direct you correctly.
I was like, where is this place? I have been walking around for ages.
Yeah.
I think Karen
Yeah.
Doyle was sitting at the table waiting for me, and I was like an hour late.
But I was good company with her, so you don't need to worry about.
I think by the time I turned up, we just come out of lockdown last time, and
Yeah.
I had high heels on, and I couldn't, and I couldn't walk in them. Remember, I was like, I'm going to take these shoes off. And I think I walked to the restaurant without shoes on. My feet were so sore.
That's all right. We just enjoy. You don't need to be strict. About it.
So, what does Chukka stand for? What does it mean?
All right. Chukka is in Japanese. It means Chinese. So
Oh,
it's a Japanese style of Chinese cuisine. We have a Chukka in Korea as well. We call it Junghwa. So Junghwa means it's Chinese style. So most of the time, the Chinese people, Chinese migrant who came to Korea or Japan, they stick to their own cuisine, but they twist with the country's style. They become Korean style Chinese, Japanese style Chinese. But the root of cuisine is based in Chinese cuisine. And it depends on where they actually came from in China as well. Like if beginning of Japanese Chinese cuisine in Japan, it started with Sichuan food. So the Sichuan food is very strong in Japanese Chukka. On the other hand, Korean Chukka food is strongly influenced by people from Beijing and Shanghai. So this cuisine is strong in Korean Chinese cuisine.
okay.
Interesting, isn't it?
I find everything that you talk about very
Yeah.
interesting. I actually could just sit here and just listen to you talk. You know so much about so many things. But one of the things that I do love about coming to your restaurant is the way that you champion seafood and
Mm-hmm.
the way that you really bring out the flavors. Those
Yes.
oysters that I had last
All
time I
right.
was there were like, honestly, they were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And you cooked as abalone as well.
That's right. We braised the abalone with dashi stock. So this is kind of like a Japanese influenced Chinese style. So when everything comes to Japanese, it become everything precise, and they like the flavor as delicate. Sometimes the Chinese cuisine tend to be heavy on flavor, but the Japanese always looking at balance and the dedication or delicate of the flavor. So that was the direction I was having toward to. It's slightly different to the cuisine I was doing at General Chow, but every time where I change the working place or restaurant, I try with the different styles. But the most every time what I'm trying to achieve is to try to understand the philosophy or the fundamental of the sauce the sauce for me is the most important thing. Like I used to make the extra sauce from the scratch. I'm not Chinese, but I was studying about the extra sauce, where they're from, how it was developed, and what's the extra sauce different to the extra sauce originally come from. And so I make my own recipes, like it's not like mix through everything in the pot and I say this is my recipe, but I try to understand what's the story behind and trying to find the best substitute. Like originally they use the like cured pork in China, but since we have Australian like bacons, like I was trying with the Australian bacon, smoked bacon, and it came out really nice as well. Something like that. And I substitute kompoi, which is a dry scallop, with dry scallop from Tasmania. Since we have a beautiful scallops or the abalones from Tasmania. Why not we use these beautiful produce, right? Something like that. And now I make different sauce from scratch as well. Even like sometimes I make the oyster sauce from the scratch, since we have a beautiful oyster in Australia. And then once you understand what's the story behind and fundamental behind, it's easy to make your own recipe, rather than you just buy a bottle of oyster sauce from a supplier. And like everyone does it, but if I use the bottle of oyster sauce, it doesn't make me different to others, right? So I don't like that. I like to make myself busy doing more thing and try more thing and trying to make, that's my own thing.
And I think that is definitely what that's the reason why I just honestly think that your food, the food that you create in the restaurants that you've worked in, has been nothing but amazing. From when I've come and you've given me the exo sauce to try, and I've got 12 different varieties of exo sauce, and it is just so well balanced. The flavor is so beautiful, but you are a master of balancing these sauces as well.
I think it's because of my I mean, I grown up with the Korean cuisine, because Korean cuisine is not well known, but for me, it's master of making balance. Because I was going to talk about it later on, but I can talk about now. That when we talk about the flavor balance in Korean cuisine, we always think about 5 flavor. So sweet and sour, sweet and sour, bitter, and what else? Give me a second. Salty, yeah. And I have my files here. So all this one, we try to make it balance, So give me a sec. Yeah. So sour, bitter, salty, sweet, and spicy. So all this one, we're trying to make a balance, and nothing's like outstanding on itself. So that's why when we try Korean food with, like other food, is all harmoniously balanced.
It is. And
yeah,
one of my favorite dishes that I've ever had at one of your restaurants is, guess what?
Oh, what is that?
You remember?
What was it? The prawn toast?
Oh my goodness.
Sadly, I don't have a prawn toast menu at the moment, but I promise you, I'll bring it back.
Oh my goodness, it was just to die for.
Yeah.
So one of the foods that you do spend a lot of time perfecting is kimchi.
Yes, right. I actually, not only kimchi, I'm really into fermented food. Like I used to make like fermented chili sauce as well. And this time, when we reopen the restaurant, I'm changing the menu, and I will make the fermented chili for the condiment for the braised beef too. All this fermentation for me is so interesting, And I've been doing like making kimchi and make my own version of like fruit vinegars and like pineapple vinegar, kiwi vinegar, all these things. And also, like sriracha sauce, I make my own as well. I'm just so into it. Like it's such complicated process, but once you understand, it's so easy. And like once you wait for like a week or like 10 days, and the flavor profile becomes so much different, like so much like rich and like depth of flavor. Like it's just so interesting. Like I started with, but like we always say the mother nature, like the master this. Like I only prepare all this one and give it to Mother Nature, and Mother Nature finish off everything. And, so yeah, amazing.
So Brad Bennett actually has just made another point, and he said a true master of food chemistry. You'll love it. Where did your fascination start with food chemistry and being able to create these elements that you create? Where did this love of wanting to know more come from?
All right. My mom, and she's actually came from one of the old like family in area in northern eastern area in Korea, and that's this city called Yeongju, and that city has such a rich like food heritage. And she's actually came from the first daughter of the family, like her family, and she actually has the like cultures and heritage and recipes which has been passed on from generation after generation. And when I was young, I did not know about this, and ever since I like become a chef, and I have more conversation with my mom about food and this, and she told me about it. Hey, actually, this is my childhood time, and your grandma, who's my mother, told me this, and my grandma told me this, and I was thinking about, oh wow, I did not realize, but it's something in my memory or something in my blood that this is the reason I become loving in food so much. And then also when I grow up, when I was a kid, my mom made everything from scratch, and I thought it's just normal. It's normal activity in every houses, But after I grown up and I look at other houses and I talk to my friends, it's not like a lot of my friends, they grown up with fast food and all this junk food, and I actually never had any opportunity to have that like fast food when I was young. I can say like 1 or 2 times, but rarely happened. And then somehow I was thinking, oh, why my mom never allow me, to have this kind of like burgers and all these things. I don't say burgers bad food, but a lot of like burgers fast food. So after I grown up, and I really appreciate, she taught me what is true food. And then now I truly understand that is a food. That is true food. She's even making her own soy sauce. She's making her own kimchi, of course. She's making vinegar. She's making her own like bean paste as well. So we have a bean paste which is similar to natto. Everything like miso, all these things. She's making everything from scratch, and then she never hesitate to making any other things from scratch. This is just.
So we have Miss Sewoo to thank for this amazing, just the way that you are so incredible with your flavors. We can thank your mum for that.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of things I will pass down to my next generation, 100%, because I never ever, think about raising my kids with, feeding them fast food. I will never, even like this is something, I don't want to talk about here, but I have to say that, when I, start dating with my wife, and I told her one thing I will never allow you to do is having a chicken nugget from Mecca's. And then she said, no way. She loves chicken nugget from Mecca's, I said, I would never allow to do it.
So you're not going to be one of these parents that takes your kids to get a Happy Meal?
No way.
Well, why would they need one when they've got you as a dad and you can just make their own Happy Meal? Just put a toy in it.
Yeah, that's right. I can make my own version of Happy Meal. I mean, they will hate about me when they're young, but I'm sure they will appreciate, by some point, in their life.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
You know what? Absolutely, they will. And I mean, look at you now. You appreciate the fact that
of
you didn't
course.
get to
Yeah,
have that growing up and you didn't miss it.
100%.
And look at all
Yeah.
these skills that you now have. It's incredible.
hmm
And the
Yes,
fact that we get to enjoy them is even
that's
better.
right. I strongly believe this is my things I can contribute to Australia. I can share this story to other peoples and make them understand how important food is in their life. And also I want every parents know like how important to feed their kids, you know like when they grown up, like they will be appreciated some point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, question without notice.
Yeah.
So, you were saying your mum makes her own miso.
Yes,
How does she do that?
this is such a long process, right? So she need to select the soya bean, the yellow soya bean. So whenever you make the fermented food, the raw material has to be super good condition. Any bad condition of ingredient will end up with the rotten or the failure of the fermentation at the end, right? So at the beginning, if you use any grains, rice, you need to wash thoroughly, and you need to pick them best conditions, all right? And you need to steam it, and you need to steam it and mix with the salt, and you need to make it kind of block, and you need to dry it. Normally this one is happening in autumn or winter period, which is the slightly low temperature, during the year, and naturally fermented. So when this block of the cooked soybean become like covered with a full of mold, and like normally white mold and a bit of the darkness in the center as well. And time to time, you need to bring it outside to get some like fresh air, bring them to inside and dry further, and like keep going. It's like making your own cheese, like once you make it in wrong condition or you don't look after well, that piece of like soybean will be rotten straight away. But as you look after them well, and they will become beautiful and getting a depth of flavor. And at the end, so that become really hard dried block of soybean, and you can make it powder or something else. And when you make the like gochujang, which is the Korean chili paste, you can see that like red container with a chili paste. So that chili paste, you must have this bean paste powder. We call that meju. Meju is the powder from the fermented bean. So this one gives the seasoning, gives the depth of flavor as well.
Wow. So, how long does it take to make miso?
Wow. I think this is like easily few months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months.
And that's for it to get that real fermentation. So
That's right.
when I go to the supermarket and I buy the miso in the packet.
Yeah, that one's been processed and ground or processed to paste.
Yeah.
This is the one I'm talking is the raw material of the fermentation. I mean the first outcome of the fermentation.
Wow. Love that.
It's just incredible, like it takes long time for processing this fermentation, but this is such a beautiful work, like yeah. Once you get a outcome of the fermentation, you will just keep on trying again and again.
So, what's your favorite ingredient to actually use
For fermentation.
for anything? For like, what is your favorite product? If you were able to say to me, "Hey Vanessa, I
Mm-hmm.
want such and such," what product would you want to create a dish with?
Well, I like everything, but I love to cook seafood.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of seafood. I like meat, but I'm a big fan of, seafood. Whenever I dine in any restaurant, I choose seafood, you know, than like meat menu. I like vegetables too. Like Korean food is like food of like vegetarian dish is one of the well-known Korean cuisine is the Buddhist temple cuisine as well. So of course they are full vegetarian, and one of the female monk, she was on Netflix as well years ago,
Yeah.
and I never had the opportunity to went down to her temple and learn about her cuisine. But if once the border opened, able to go back to Korea, I will definitely do it. Like I can see the three Michelin star chef came from New York, and he flew to Korea and learned about the cuisine as well from her. So I can see definitely it's worth it.
She was really inspirational.
Yeah,
I
she is.
did
Yeah,
see that. I did see that that episode. It was really amazing.
she's making everything from scratch as well, like soy sauce and like fermented bean sauce as well, everything. So not that crazy, but my mom does quite similar job too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Anna James just asked, how does the flavor from homemade vary from the commercial varieties of miso?
I can say it's more salty and has a more
The
depth of
homemade,
flavor.
the one that you
Homemade.
buy is more salty.
No, homemade tend to be saltier.
Okay.
Yeah, saltier, and you can say the is rough in terms of flavor profile, but for me it's more rich, and it has such a depth of flavor. You know, I I really want to bring every one of you to Korea and show you how to make this one.
Oh, look, I'll be in
You
it.
know,
Absolutely. As soon as we can. I just want to go over there and hug your mum.
yeah, yeah, and also there is one restaurant I would like to introduce to all of you. There is a restaurant called Che. It's I think Chae. This restaurant becomes so popular in Melbourne, and she runs small restaurant. I think she can only have 10 guests or so, and she has like few months booking filled out already, and that restaurant was talked about as like most how to make a booking in Melbourne a few months ago. And whenever I look at her you know her performance like in Instagram, and like thrill me and amaze me, like she's making everything. Like when I look at her, oh, that's exactly what my mom's doing, and she's making like rice wines from scratch, you know and the tofu from scratch as well. It's just amazing.
So is that your dream? Is your dream to own your own business one day and to be able to do that type of food?
I think definitely. I think the city like Sydney, we have to have something like that as well. Like this is a shame for me as a Korean, and I mean Korean chef too. Everyone asks me about, oh, where is the best Korean restaurant in Sydney? I always like hesitate myself. Oh, which one I need to choose? For me, like, oh, there is a good Korean barbecue restaurant, but Korean barbecue is not all about Korean food. It's only one type of Korean food which has been like worldwidely popular. But for me, there is so many other Korean food is good. Like kimchi is one of that. Like when we think about kimchi, it's like cabbage kimchi. Cabbage kimchi is only one of 100,000 kinds of kimchi in Korea. You know.
That's a good little segue into our actual point of catching up today. Is to talk about kimchi.
Yes, finally we're
So
getting
tell
into
me,
it.
what is it? What is kimchi?
All right, kimchi is the fermented vegetable. Normally, Chinese cabbage kimchi is well known, and most of the Korean loves that kimchi as well. And then kimchi has such a long history in Korea, more than like 3,000 years history in Korea. But nowadays we know that kimchi adds spicy fermented vegetable, but it's not that until 16th century, because late of 16th century or early of 17th century, chili was introduced to Korea.
Oh.
And in that time, chili was the weapon used in like war situation.
Really?
Because you can torture someone with a chili, right?
So if you don't like someone, exactly, you can just
That's right.
blow some
Yeah.
chili powder on them.
That's right. Okay, you can spray them, you know.
Wonder what they
Yeah,
would have used back then as something to spray.
I don't know. But ever since that, Korean people, falling in love with spicy flavor. So they, become using chili into food, especially in kimchi. All right. And the ingredient for the kimchi is so much to talk about. To make the kimchi, you need to have a vegetable. And today we're going to talk about the cabbage. But the cabbage we normally use for kimchi is which is grown up in mountain, because the kimchi grown up in mountain, because there is temperature difference in mountain. Like nighttime temperature drops and daytime it rises up. So this, like extreme temperature difference makes cabbage firmer and sweeter.
Okay.
Right. So normally, when you go to Korea and up in mountain area, there are huge size of like cabbage farm, especially up in mountain area, and cabbage is important, or the vegetable for the kimchi is important. And one of the things really important is the salt as well. The salt, we don't use cooking salt. We always use sea salt. And the reason behind that, sea salt has, like rich in minerals, and the minerals gives more flavors as well. And then these minerals helps the fermentation too. And we don't use like freshly harvested the sea salt. We always use year-old or 2 years old sea salt.
Why is that?
It's because of when you have the sea salt directly from the resource or the ocean, it tends to have moist. This moist, we believe, that gives the bitter flavor. So you need to preserve this sea salt in dark area for a year or 2 years to release this water. So the salt become drier and salt becomes sweeter. It doesn't sweet as sugar, but it becomes sweeter. And I kind of know that because my mom always leave big sack of sea salt in a backyard under the dark area. So always I know that from my childhood.
So in Korea, whereabouts did you get your salt from?
The salt normally come from southwestern area. We have a big the mud area, so there is a big sea salt farm in there.
Wow.
I mean, it's brilliant area. I really want to bring you to there.
Oh, I'll be in that. Don't worry about that.
And also, another thing's important for making kimchi is fish sauce. So we only know about fish sauce, but actually we use the fish paste as well. Sometimes we use shrimp paste too, shrimp paste or anchovy paste, or some people use different type of fishes as well. Some people use fermented fish. Some people even use fresh fish into the kimchi as well. Like just for example, some people use oyster to make the kimchi as well. The Momofuku has this kimchi too, like oyster kimchi. All right.
Why do they use oyster? Does it not get to a certain point where you start to go, okay, this kimchi is going to start costing me a lot of money?
Mm-hmm.
Or
But
it doesn't matter. It's such a it's a delicacy that people don't care about the price.
I mean, it's all up to what kind of range of kimchi you're looking at. If you want to be fancy about kimchi, and you can make a kimchi with an oyster. Like an oyster is fairly cheap in Korea too. It's not as expensive as Australia. And also, when you have a kimchi every day, you want to find something special, with your staple dish every day, right? And the oyster kimchi is definitely something can give you special,
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the fish sauce itself, and depends on the region in Korea, they use different types of fish sauce or different types of fish paste as well. In Seoul, some people not even use fish paste. My hometown, which is further down to south and eastern side, we have rich in using like anchovy paste or things like that. And my father's friend, he has the anchovy paste manufacturer. So we always get his fish, the anchovy paste. And there's some point during a year when my mom prepare massive like kimchi. When I talk about massive, we talk about 100 cabbage for kimchi.
Wow.
She used to prepare 100 cabbage for kimchi for 5 members of family: myself, my brother, my younger sister, and my parents. And this is not for whole year. This is only for the time from, let's say, October to February. So for 4 months.
You would eat 100 cabbages.
It sounds crazy, isn't it?
So do you have it for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or is it something that you just have for dinner?
No, I think every meals we have a kimchi. I mean, kimchi is such a thing you never get bored with.
Wow.
I mean, I live in Australia now. I don't eat kimchi like that crazy, but I still love kimchi with my meal.
So
And
kimchi is like Vegemite to us, I suppose, but we don't have it for
yes,
dinner and stuff. But we do put it in sauces. But
yeah,
so kimchi is really it's a staple food in Korea.
that's right. That's right. Like, I mean, kimchi, we have a kimchi as a condiment. Of course, that's the easiest way to have a kimchi. And as kimchi get fermented, it get sour, and it's not really good for like having as a condiment. But still, people like the sour kimchi as a condiment. But when the kimchi becomes sour, we normally braise kimchi with pork. So that sourness from the kimchi break down the fat from the pork belly or pork neck, and it's brilliant. It's such a brilliant dish. And this is one of the menu I always introduce to my European friend, especially German friend. I definitely tell them, you guys have a pork and sauerkraut, and we have kimchi and pork in Korea. And I always tell them, try out and then let me know. And they all love it.
Wow.
Yeah, they love it so much.
So let's just rewind a little bit, okay? So
Mhm.
we've talked about the cabbage, but you can
Yeah,
use any vegetable that you like for kimchi.
that's right. Commonly we use a radish, and we can use leaf vegetable as well, like perilla leaf, or you can use the watercress as well. You can use spring onions, and you can use like so many things. Like there is literally there's endless. You know, Nowadays people start using Western vegetables as well, like a kohlrabi. They use kohlrabi too, like beetroots. Beetroot's amazing. Like I love beetroot kimchi, and yeah, it's something different.
So do you have beetroot in Korea?
We have now, but it's not traditional vegetables.
Okay.
Well, now everyone loves it.
All right, so we've got our 100 cabbages and we've got our salt that's been sitting in sacks that's been
Yes,
aging underneath the house.
yes.
And what else do you need? So where do you start? You chop up your cabbages or do you just take the leaves off?
Normally we cut into quarter from the bottom, so we score it first, and we rip them off. All right. So we
So
try.
explain score to me. What do? You just poke it or something?
No, we just cut into cross from the bottom,
Okay.
and we just rip them off. So we cut it into quarter from the bottom,
Yep.
and also we wash them and brine them with salt. Like I said, aged salt. So you get rid of excess moist from the vegetable, and trying to get the salt into the vegetables. So that way it become preserved longer.
And how do you do that? Do you just lay that out on tables and you've just got salt all
We
over?
normally have a really massive bath. Yeah, and also the preparation of this massive kimchi we call the kimjang, and the kimjang is normally happen once a year, and it's not only one household job. We normally bring our neighbors, and so normally like 2-3 houses come together and prepare, let's say, 400 cabbages together.
That's amazing. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like kimchi day.
That's right, like a kimchi day. And normally at the end of the kimchi day, we normally braise the pork belly together. And this braised pork belly, freshly made kimchi, is such a perfect combination.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you used to, getting off topic slightly, but we'll come back to kimchi, but did you
Yeah.
used to farm your own pigs and your own chickens and things as well?
No, I grown up in countryside, but not as that crazy, But like we used to have a vegetable farm, next to my house, and I used to grow my tomatoes and and all these simple vegetables I can grow, when I was a kid, and yeah, that's the memory from my childhood. And there was like a lot of farms around my hometown as well, like it's beautiful, like memories.
So is the soil really rich and full of nutrients
Oh yeah.
where your farm was?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And especially my hometown, the like has such a long history of like civilization, like like few thousands. So like you can imagine, like people's farming for a few thousand years, like they just become like rich and rich. We not just use up the soil and finished.
Now I'm getting right off track. But is your education system where you grew up very similar to here in Sydney?
Like education system in terms of what?
As in, like, did you go to like primary school and then
Oh
high
yeah.
school and you have good universities and so forth?
Yes, we follow American education system. So we have elementary school and middle school and high school and university.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to university?
Yes. On my third year of university, I came to Australia. So unfortunately, I couldn't, finish my university, but I continued to like study about cooking. So I studied at Le Cordon Bleu. So that was my journey continued.
And what did you do at university?
Hotel management. So it's
Oh, good for you.
hospitality as well.
That's
Yes. So
brilliant.
I did a bit of front of house and back of house.
Okay, nice. But you were always in that hospitality space. I thought you were going to tell me
Yeah.
you were going to be like the mad scientist or something.
No, no.
So, okay, we're going back to the kimchi, and we've got our
Yes.
kimchi day on, and everyone from the village is, or from your around your neighbours and so forth, have all
Mhm.
come together. You've got it all laid out, and you've quartered your cabbages. They're all laying on the
Yes.
table. They've all had
Mhm.
salt all over them. What do you
Yes.
do next?
So once the cabbage get brine, sorry, so it gets softened. All right.
So
So when
when you say brine, that's like what we would assume brine to be in water, like a salt slurry.
traditionally we use only salt, but nowadays a lot of people use like wet brine, so salt with water.
Okay.
I can say it's nothing wrong, but it's I can say it's easier to control. If you use only salt, sometimes it's hard to brine all of the cabbage, because some part has more salt and other part has less.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Got you.
All right. And after cabbage is done, the next step is really important. You need to make the paste. So when you make the paste, we always use garlic, onion, and the chili paste, and you can use the fish sauce or a fish paste. So my mom always do use the fish sauce mixed with fish paste, anchovy paste, which has been boiled and reduced and strained. So it's kind of like enhanced and like fortified like fish sauce. She doesn't only use the fish sauce itself. Normally fish sauce is lighter, but I believe she was kind of looking at the depths of a flavor from the cooking of the anchovy paste. And
amazing.
But whenever you cook that anchovy paste, and it smells really strong. So I can definitely know when she's making this one, and I can tell straight away, and after a few days, she's cooking off the fish paste, and man, like, full of the smell in the house, Lucky, she's making this once a year or something, If she make this one every day, oh, I can't stand.
It's just such a strong smell.
Yeah. So okay. So mix everything with, and the one thing most important when you make the paste, you need to make like thin porridge. So we normally use short grain rice flour called glutinous rice flour, or if you don't have, sometimes we use plain flour as well. So the reason you make this thin, like a porridge, is the food for the bacteria to grow, and also this thin porridge makes all these ingredients combined together, and then this one always helps fermentation going well as well. And then some people, like when you search like a recipe for how to make kimchi, and I often see some recipe that miss out this step, but for me this steps is so crucial. So you need to make this thin porridge.
And so you make that, and do you let it sit, or do you do something with it?
So let's say the ratio would be like 2 liters of water and 1 spoonful of flour. So you cook it off and you cool it down completely, and you just blitz everything together: garlic, ginger, and then fish paste, everything. Like, and also don't use anything like a paprika. I saw some recipe does. I don't know why. And don't use like sesame oil. I don't know. It's some wrong recipe. Use sesame oil too. It's wrong. So you use garlic, onion, and the ginger as well, and gochugaru, which is Korean chili powder, and the fish sauce or fish paste. You blitz everything into powder, and this is ready to go. But when you blitz it, you use the water from the thin porridge. So you don't need to strain off anything. You just straight into the jug and put all the ingredient, and then just splits up.
So that doesn't become it doesn't become a powder then, does it? It's wet.
It's wet, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you make the wet paste consistent, and you put all this paste over the brine, the cabbage. So when you put it in every leaves, you need to spread them out evenly.
This is very time consuming.
Oh yes. Now you know why you call every neighbors and come together and do it together.
So okay, so we're up to where we're brining our leaves, and yep. What happens now?
All right. So the cabbage has been brined. Cabbage is been seasoned. Now you need to put it in sterilized container or sterilized earthenware. So this earthenware, we call that ongi. this is Korean name for the earthenware. Back in old days, we put this earthenware into the ground during winter time, because the winter time in Korea, the temperature drop down to minus. So when the temperature drop down to minus, and every vegetable become frozen, and the freezing this vegetable for the fermentation isn't good. So you need like people in Korea a long time ago, they found a way to preserve and in keeping them not too frozen in winter time. So put this earthenware under the ground, put this kimchi inside, and let it ferment it slowly.
And that's for 6 months.
No, winter time only takes few months, but to complete the fermentation until you start eating, it only takes few days.
Oh, really?
Yes, but you can keep it up to few months, or nowadays we have a better refrigeration. We have a fridge called kimchi fridge. So this kimchi fridge, the maintaining the temperature as 6.5 degree all the time. This 6.5 degree is a perfect temperature for fermentation.
Oh, okay, that's amazing
Yes.
to know.
Yeah. So we crazy about wine as Westerner crazy about. We crazy about the kimchi. Westerner crazy about the wine, because Westerner has a wine cellar. We have a kimchi fridge.
That's so funny.
We spend a bit of bucks on it, like to keeping the kimchi perfectly. So if you use the kimchi fridge, you can keep it up to E or E's, and then when you keeping the kimchi, in the kimchi fridge, it doesn't mean the fermentation had stopped. It just slow down the fermentation.
Okay.
So when you keep the kimchi in the fridge for a year, and that become super sour,
Right.
and then we call that is aged kimchi, or we call that shingimchi. And we often use this aged kimchi for certain food. You can make like a kimchi pancakes. You can braise the pork with this aged kimchi as well. So we utilize kimchi until every last week.
So is that then considered, aged kimchi, is that then considered almost like a delicacy?
Yeah. I can say that.
It's a bit like our Penfolds wine, that when it ages and it values itself at thousands of dollars.
Not that it's expensive, but it's definitely delicacy. It's just something like different experience. Yeah, and it doesn't mean it's more expensive than the fresh kimchi. I mean, the price wise is quite similar.
How expensive is it? I mean, it's a fairly intense process. You would think that it would be expensive.
The one I buy in Sydney, it's like, I don't know, like $10 or $15 per kilo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be made that traditional way, I would not imagine.
Yeah. And then the kimchi made in Korea tend to be more expensive. And if you buy kimchi from China is one of the big producers as well, because they have a cheaper labor and extra. So you can get the cheaper kimchi too.
And is it very different, the product that you're buying in Australia compared to the one that you used to make with your family?
I mean, the fermentation, wherever you do, it come out slightly different result, because the fermentation is not only up to the ingredient you use, it's also up to the bacteria, in place where you are as well. So if I make a kimchi, I use even exactly the same ingredient that I use in Korea, and I make the kimchi in Australia. Sometimes it came out different result in Australia.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So and then we normally stick to the ingredient, like chili powder, which we call it gochugaru. Stick to Korean one, because the chili powder tend to be slightly different as well. It's not only spicy, it's spicy and also sweeter as well. And then when they make the powder, they normally make it into powder with the seed as well. So chili seed, everything ground into it. So this one gives another flavor profile as well.
I love this. It's like it's just like being able to, it's just beautiful being able
Mm.
to share this with you. I just love how passionate you are about kimchi or any of the different sauces that you make, and learning more about miso has been really interesting as well because
Yeah. I
I
mean,
know that
vinegar as well. It's such interesting to
yeah,
know too.
we
Yeah.
talk about this stuff a lot, but we've never
Mm.
actually talked in depth about miso.
Mm.
But you've taught me a lot.
Yeah.
So tell me, in terms of cookbooks, if
Mhm.
someone was wanting to make a traditional Korean kimchi,
Mhm.
do you have any recommendations insofar as cookbooks go?
Oh, that's a hard question for me because I normally, okay, honestly, I never buy Korean cookbook. So that's why hard for me to recommend any Korean book to you guys. And if I have any opportunity, I want to write Korean cookbook
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Something easy to follow and it's not faking the recipe, you know. And I don't know. I don't know what to recommend,
No,
honestly.
no, and you know what? I love the fact that you've answered it that way because
Yeah.
it just means that you really believe in the way that you make it, that you just wouldn't even think about it. It'd be interesting to see if that restaurant you're talking about, Che, has
Yeah.
actually put out a book or anything as
Nice.
well.
Great.
But you should write your own book. I mean, I'd definitely buy it. I'd actually buy heaps of copies and give it out to people because I just think it'd
Oh,
be such a
great.
great investment. But anyway, well, we've taken up a lot of your time today, and I know that you're
Mhm.
very busy chasing your wife around.
I slow
You're
down at the
funny.
moment, but I will do it again tonight, you know.
You're hilarious. But anyway, keep on being good and
Mm.
stay safe. I know that you're in the King George's area.
Yes. So I can only leave my house within 5 kilo, distance. So I can't go too far away, but I enjoy my time off now. And I'm still working on menus and all this, like festive season coming up as well. I really hope that we can open up again for Christmas and Melbourne comes. And yeah, entire of Chukka team, we're working hard to, you know, like work on the recipes and like trying to give you guys another experience since again we reopened the restaurant, so please when we finish this horrible lockdown again, and please come to Chukka and let's enjoy again.
I highly recommend going to Chukka. Although I don't like to share it with everybody because it's kind of like one of those things that it's like my own little favourite place. But I
That's good.
suppose I can share if it means
Mm.
you like doing really well. It's the least I can do. And I love how successful you are, and the way that you mentor and the way that you inspire your team as well. It's wonderful. I mean, when I come in and I see the way that you're really empowering them, especially your dessert, your pastry chef. How's she
Mm.
going?
Oh, she's doing great, like not only my pastry chef and everyone else in my team, they so happy about it, like this is what I found myself, enjoying being a chef, and then even like cooking food and sharing my experience and stories with the peoples, and it's all about happiness, working in hospitality, meeting new people and like introduce myself and knowing new people as well. Such a good experience, for myself and all my teams.
You're just like a little ray of sunshine. I know your name is Sun, and Sun is like sun that just beams out all this brightness and joy. And thank you so much for sharing with
Thank
us
you very
today.
much
It's
having me
it's
today.
been really enlightening, and I've really enjoyed listening to your story and learning
Mhm.
a little bit more about you and your culture.
Mhm.
And also the fact that you've embraced becoming a Westerner so well.
I'm always enjoying, sharing my story, and I truly believe that, sharing my story and sharing my passion enrich the culture in Australia, because, you know, this is just the way, this is just the way, I can contribute to this country, because this country, given to me such a good opportunity. And then this time I always believe time to, pay back, you know, I need to share my story with next generation, like apprentices and all of them, because they're the future. One day I will be gone. I will get old and I'll be gone, and then I don't want to be regret. Once I have opportunity, I want to share with people.
You're so beautiful. And I tell you what, Australia is one lucky country to have the diversity of chefs that we have here. And the
Absolutely.
fact that you've all brought this beautiful testament to your to where you've grown up and your culture and all of these different ways of looking at food, and inspired us to really infuse the way that we do enjoy our different flavors and so forth. Now I think it's amazing, and I'm so thankful to have you and to have
Mm.
you spend the time with us today.
All right. Thank you.
You take care and behave yourself.
I will try. I'll do my best.
Hopefully we have some little sons running around in the next 12 months.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye,
much.
everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.